Hello,
Hello.
Gene and Brody, Shaky Town.
Toot toot.
What's been going on, Gene?
I like Train de Aragua because it has the word train in it. Toot toot. What's been going on? Nothing much aside from the wholesale destruction of America as we know it.
Yeah, we saw so we've been back on the air since last May.
Yes.
Um, to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of the show ending, we started it over. And we've been seeing this coming down the pike for a while.
Yeah.
I think I was just talking to a friend of the show, Tori Holder, actually before we logged on today. And I was saying to Tori, I did not anticipate just how quickly it would go bad. 2 months into this administration, and it's like affecting people I know and affecting people's jobs that I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
We,
No, I mean it's so much easier to break things than it is to build things.
yeah,
And I know we've talked about it and I've said it. It's like the there's the two things that concern me the most. I was having a conversation with my daughter the other day, and she was like, "Oh, I can't wait until he's gone, he's out of office, or he dies, or whatever." And I'm like, and I'm like, but you realize that the first administration, he was, a fire hose that no one could control, and it was just flailing around. But now they fixed that problem. This Project 2025 stuff, billionaire asshole stuff,
yeah.
like they have an agenda and they're executing on that agenda. And you think couch fucker is going to be a better person for this? No, because they already have billionaire asshole and all of the little minions, cringing minions lined up behind them. So it's like even if someone, you know, take a shot at him and it works.
Which we don't want to
It's,
happen and we do not advocate for.
which I do not want to advocate for, and I don't want to happen. I'm
I am
nodding my
a
head
I am a pacifist. I am a
yes,
uh
yes. Every death diminishes
I
humanity's.
just I just want him to be Napoleon, which means go because I'm an abolitionist. Maybe not. Aspiring abolitionist. I'm not sure that prison is the answer for anybody really, but give him an island to live on. Just put him on Epstein Island. Just stick him there
Right,
and out of the way.
right. Just have yeah, no. But that to me is the move fast, break things mentality of billionaire asshole,
Yeah.
who's I skeeted today. If this was a meritocracy, he Elon Musk wouldn't be qualified to scrub tile grout, mildew out of tile grout. Um, like dude's never done anything. He's never built anything. He's claimed credit for shit he hasn't done. He's not smart. He's just fucking rich and fucking stupid.
Yeah.
And 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 all of the stuff that's happening is vandalism. Like literally, like old school vandalism, like the Vandals,
Yeah.
like riding into Rome and sacking Rome and carrying away all of its wealth and destroying its institutions and killing its people. Like literal vandalism,
Yeah.
like literal old school fire and sword vandalism. And it needs to be fucking stopped, you know. It's that and the speed at which it's happening is fucking mind-boggling. That we can destroy things that took decades to build, and even through our weird partisan politics of the last 40 years or so, 50 years or so, have stood, and everyone agreed to at least leave shit alone, you know?
Yeah.
And you know, that to me is the thing that is there's no going back. There's no going back, you know, and I while I was talking to my daughter, I said you have to be very careful because people say, "Oh, the two parties, they're exactly the same." No, they're not. But when you have a rapacious bunch of assholes and you have an ineffectual bunch of people who are now saying things like, and by the way, the GOP is the assholes. The ineffectual bunch of idiots on the other side, the Democrats, are who are now saying, well, you know, some people who don't like trans people, we need to have a big inclusive tent to include these people who want to erase trans identity or who don't like abortion and want to ban it. And I'm like, no, you don't need to have that big of a tent.
Mhm.
Fuck that. Reject their tickets at the door
Yeah.
and build something that says people are the more important thing. Money is not the most important thing, and move on with it. You know, and if they don't like it, they can form their own party. They can form their He-Man Womanators Club, and they can lock themselves in their treehouse and refuse to fucking let people into it. And that treehouse will eventually fall over. You know,
Yeah.
so the ray of hope, the ray of hope out of all of this is the number of town halls in which MAGA Republicans are being shouted down by their constituents. And my favorite one was, I can't remember which one it was, but the upshot was the dude said, as people were chanting "tax the rich" in a Republican-led town hall, the dude actually said, what are you saying? We should tax the rich? Is that what you're saying?" And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what they're saying. Like verbatim, they're saying that. like it's not it's not a crazy proposition. It's not a proposition that comes from a place of being a fucking weird thing to think of, you know? Anyway, the leopards eating face party stuff is,
Yeah.
you
Yep.
know, so
This is why, in this day and age, mutual aid has been so important. And I will put in a plug for the Coven, which is a Arizona-based collective, Phoenix-based specifically. And I have kind of officially joined the fundraising wing of said Coven, which just entails signal boosting fundraisers for GoFundMe's, things like that. We got some folks who were struggling to make rent, dealing with injury, single parents, things like that, who needed some community help. And I've certainly received it in the form of patronage, like buy my coffee, buymeacoffee.com kind of stuff, you know, that people have donated very generously to. When I called for it, like, hey, I'm making stuff and would love if you love the content, throw some stuff in during this like time of unemployment. And so the very least I can do is signal boost for others when they are doing something similar or having it done on their behalf as the Coven does for these folks in Phoenix. So if you follow me or Shaky Town, you may see that on the feeds and hope you will donate if you can, but at the very least share. Um, I also now being recently employed and I'm enjoying the job. It's I don't know if I've stipulated on the show, disclosed that it's adjacent to education. It's providing services for education. So a private company, but that helps school districts. So happy and excited about that. Feel like I'm doing something good and productive, but I haven't been on the job very long, and I haven't been getting you know, like it's not like I've gotten months and months and months of paychecks, you know. So I'm still catching up. But Gene, I had a little help
what's that?
in that area. I won a contest,
Oh, right.
so I wanted to share on the program on Shaky Town
Uh,
that I won a cash prize.
Speaking of meritocracy,
I'm not going to disclose the amount because I really truly think it's nobody's business.
It
I
was
will
twelve billion dollars.
I will say when my daughter heard the amount, she said, "We're rich." I said, "No, you're not getting a pony. This is going towards the house payment." Like it's pretty much earmarked for either,
Yeah.
paying this thing off or paying that thing off. But or like, with a family of four in this economy.
Someone already owns this money.
Yes, yes, yes.
Someone else already owns this money.
Honey, do you see that dozen eggs that's in the fridge?
Yeah, that's right.
That's where it went.
Yeah.
Gene, would you like to tell the audience or shall I tell them where it came from?
Jesus fucking Christ. Oh man, I don't even know.
So I will
You
tease
do it. You do it. You do
I'll
it.
tease the audience a little more. We've been through
Okay,
this
go ahead.
before with Ellen, where my wife and I, specifically my wife was the beneficiary of an Ellen DeGeneres Prize, the Ellen Show, Mother's Day edition. And for some years we had a very nice barbecue grill and um, baby monitors and a year supply of diapers and wonderful things via somebody who then later was written off by her industry and uh, canceled and said that she's having no more stand-up specials. More recently, my children and I were watching the Beast Games, and when every once in a while they would do an ad break and say, "Log onto this app to manage your money and your crypto and whatnot, and enter for a cash prize." Well, all I had to do was download an app, push a button, and and see a little gift box shake and explode and say you've done one entry, and it's like not doing anything else here except waiting for job rejections
Right, right, right.
and watching Beast Games with my kid, my both my kids. So the season ended. Got a new job, forgot about it, and then I get an email one day. You have won a Beast Games prize. So I'm like, I'm like, this has got to be a phishing scam. Like they're gonna ask for my
Yes,
social
of course, of course.
info and bank info, and
I
then
someone from Mumbai is going to be. Yeah, yes, I am Mr. Beast.
like this was the kind of shit that I like worked in cybersecurity to
Yeah,
come.
yeah, yeah. Literally, the thing that you say, it's never a
Yeah,
actual prize.
yeah.
Yeah,
So, I look up the company, I look up the app, I get like the legitimate phone numbers and just like, hey, I just wanted you to know I got this email and just, and they're like, oh, yes, Mr. Hubbard, congratulations on your prize. What? I am the beneficiary of Mr. Beast's generosity. And so you will never hear me say a bad word about him again. Thank you,
yeah.
Mr. Beast, for helping me pay for at least a week's worth of
I'll. I would have taken his money, but I'm not going to badmouth. I reserve the right because here's no, and congratulations. No, I
Thank you.
mean it couldn't happen to a nicer guy, and it's funny how you know you need money really bad, and then you get a job, and then you get money. It's like,
Yes.
oh, great. Um, so here's the thing: on both ends of this bookends of what you were talking about, mutual aid, which I believe in. I was telling another thing that came up when I was talking to my daughter was I was talking about school lunches and how California's groundbreaking school lunch program directly relates to the Black Panthers starting feeding kids in Oakland. That Ronald Reagan could not let a radical African American political movement feed children while he didn't do that. So while Reagan did a whole ton of horrible, horrible things, both to California and to the world, um, school lunches were a direct result of mutual aid. Were
Yeah.
a direct result of community action, direct community action in mutual aid. So mutual aid, absolutely imperative. I haven't availed myself of any yet, and I've been, out of work for a year and a half now. But my son brought home CalFresh farmers market food yesterday, and that's not mutual aid per se. That's still state stuff, but it is community driven, and I'm all for it. What I will say, and I've said before, is no one should ever have a GoFundMe. If you have a Ko-fi for your page, a coffee thing for your page, or a tip jar, it should be because you want people to reward you for the work you're doing, not to make your rent or to make your food or no one should ever be in that position. And mutual aid shouldn't exist. Mutual aid shouldn't exist unless it's something old fashioned mutual aid. Mrs. Higgins broke her hip and everyone's making her soup. She doesn't have to cook, that kind of stuff. But we live in a place where Mr. Beast can give you $1,000 and he probably shits $1,000 every minute, you know. And I see GoFundMe's and God, the fucking all the Palestinian accounts and all they're just like, you know, the horrors of trying to live in a place where people are actively trying to kill you and your family, and I just all of that shit is so gut wrenching.
Yeah.
And on both sides of it, you have people, just ordinary people trying to help other ordinary people out, and you have these fucking multi-millionaire billionaires. Like the other thing I've been thinking about this week is Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban is like the dude's a billionaire,
Yeah.
and I feel like he's been posturing lately as he's a good guy. He's the good billionaire. And again, I don't think you can be a good billionaire. At some point, his billions of dollars have steamrollered over someone else's opportunities and money.
Right.
And that to me, I think direct action and mutual aid is what's going to make us survive, us as a society survive, or whatever society we build beyond, you know, micro penis Doge and micro penis Trump. Um, but the fact that every time I see, hey, I just got diagnosed with bone cancer and I need $400,000, like it, every inch of that story is fucking terrible.
Yeah. I
From
I don't want to pile on, but
no, no,
I do
sure,
want to mention like um what you brought to mind right away is that I really don't want to bum everybody out, but
go fucking do it,
there's these
man.
cookbooks, how it all began, like how it all
Sure,
began, but instead of the word began, it's vegan. Like you
yeah,
get the
yeah,
gist
yeah,
of the wordplay there. And um the I've had those books, that series of books for years. And the one of the co-authors, Sarah Kramer, is like at end of life.
yeah.
And their partner is having to like for brain cancer. And yeah, they have to have a GoFundMe just to be able to kind of like serve like subsidize like being able to like die with dignity, and for who's left behind like be able to somehow muddle through all this.
Yeah. Yeah, every and that yeah, but see that you're not adding more tears to the bucket. Like that the bucket's long been filled and is spilling over. But like I said, every single aspect of it from it's bad enough. It's bad enough to get a cancer diagnosis or whatever it is,
Yeah.
some sort of debilitating illness or long-term illness or whatever. Then the money that costs because our healthcare system is flawed and broken,
Yeah.
then the idea that nobody can afford that except for really wealthy people. I mean, I counted myself really lucky to have a decent job for a long time. I haven't had one for a while. I'm running out of money. And if I still luckily through my wife have insurance. So if something really horrible were to happen, we'd only be out a couple $1,000. But if I didn't have that, I would be in that place where, well, there goes my house, and I'll probably have to, destroy my retirement account
Yeah.
to pay for that. And no, and I don't need somebody who's making $20 an hour throwing $5 into a bucket because they're good people. That should never happen.
Yeah.
That should never happen. But that's the part where we're at.
Yep.
And it's heartening that people still care.
Yeah.
And I'm also mildly nauseated that people have to care.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and when Mr. Beast does literally jack shit and makes a fuck ton of money, enough to do stupid things like reinvent Lunchables and fucking partner with the Paul brothers with fucking bullshit, reinvent hamburgers, and everybody acts like he's a fucking philanthropic genius. My son even was like, he does really good things for people. I'm like, great. With what money does he do that?
Hmm.
And it's like YouTube, Google, they have a fuck ton of money, and he's the person they turn the money hose on. And so he's giving a little bit back.
Yeah.
Okay, but the fact that we have that we're moving towards a feudal technocracy
Yeah.
where we're going to exist at the largesse of billionaires
Yeah.
or by money scraped up by people who morally can't let people starve.
Right. I'll put it this way, and my bias will show.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's great that Mr. Beast is trying to solve the child labor in West Africa problem. It shouldn't be up to him. It should be up to the people who are currently dismantling our Department of Education. And
Yes. And
uh,
USAID. Let's turn that exactly where the laser where it should point. USAID. The independent institution that is supposed to be solving hunger, child labor, and medicine issues in the third world. Yeah, exactly. I'm glad you got money out of it. I'm
mhm,
glad you got money out of it because they care about you. But the system that gave you that money is just as fucked as the system that gives you a system that it's the orphan crushing machine.
yeah,
It's the orphan crushing machine. No one questions why we're crushing many. We're crushing. There's less orphans crushed this month. Why do we need an orphan crushing machine? It really is. It's an old saw, but it's
yeah.
a appropriate one. Anyway, yeah, that's the thing, man.
But
Everybody needs to go on general strike.
family and friends though really did come through for me during this time as well, and I'm almost back now in the position where I feel like now I can start putting aside some of this income to give back, which I'm excited to do. Um, so
Yeah,
uh, now that
yeah,
now that things under this roof are taken care of and everybody is safe and sound. Not that they weren't, that was the thing,
stabilizing.
and that was a great thing. And I'm in a much more privileged situation where it only took that chunk of help from family and friends and then winning a prize in a random contest. um it was so funny because I should also mention that I had a friend, without getting into in all the particulars of his situation. They just said how about like somebody had like reached them out of the blue and like talked about winning a cash prize, and it was just like unexpected message. I'm like, well, yeah, people aren't, it's not like people, that's not something that usually happens. People aren't winning hundreds of dollars every day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And the
yeah,
very
yeah.
next day, I wrote, "Hey, I have the
Guess
great
what?
news to tell you." And then like, you won hundreds of dollars. And I'm like, actually, what? It was just this weird thing that I willed into reality. So
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, sometimes things get where they need to be.
yeah,
That's kind of it. And you
yeah.
know,
But not everybody's that lucky. And
no, no, not. I mean, I like my social media feeds every day are
yeah,
a shit show. They're a fucking horror
yeah,
horror shit fight.
yeah. I mean, Gene, I'll tell you, like I've seriously it motivated me to get more involved with volunteering and things like that. There's stuff
Yeah.
that I'm not ready to plug yet that I will be plugging that will be my involvement in other things. Like I just like, well, eventually, I'll be at a point where the money and the bonuses and stuff are coming into the point where I can just do that, and I'm not gonna advertise that. That's just between, me and the person who needs the money. Um, you know, uh, but there's stuff I can do like organizationally to
Yeah.
like, oh, here's an organization that's doing this, here's an organization that's doing that. Um, and get more involved in that. Now that I'm not spending hours upon hours looking at job ads, I,
Ugh.
I can do put in my work day and then put in my family time and then do this other stuff, uh, to helpfully help, at least on a local level for sure. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
In
Yeah. Part
time.
of, yeah, it is. I mean, it is. It's part of the thing that, and I'm probably, um, again, I talked to my daughter, and because she's fed up, and she's just a teenager, and she's like, I can't vote, but I'm like, yeah, but there's stuff that we could do if we wanted to do something. I'll take you to, you know, Democratic Socialists of America has things that they do. And I'm like, oh, if you want to go there and look at stuff, I've been meaning to do that. You come with me. And because I have no money, I have time. It's ultimately, hopefully, I will not have time at some point. But
Right.
but I have time right now. I think part of the larger structural problem I have is, and it's America's structural problem is we are so big and so decentralized that there should be 100,000, 200,000 people camped on the mall in Washington, D.C., daily marching up to the Capitol, daily marching up to the White House,
Yeah.
and screaming loudly for the madness to stop. But we live in a country that's spread out across a giant, third of a continent, and it's being in California means that California, we're insulated. We're insulated a little bit more from the idiocy, although there's a big wide band of red that runs up the central portion of the state, and in Orange County, just up until recently was consistently red state ish. Um, but it feels like everything is at arm's length, and marching down to LA City Hall doesn't feel very productive in getting anything changed at the federal level. Even if you march down to the federal building, there's maybe fewer bureaucrats now than there were there because of all the BS. But it still doesn't feel like we can do much at arm's length,
Yeah.
you know. But um, local direct action stuff is basically it. It's like just make sure everyone is safe and fed, and you know kick any ICE agents who are trying to you know scam people out of their houses to arrest them, kick them to the curb when they come into your neighborhood, kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, don't throw Molotovs at Teslas though, because that's domestic terrorism.
I have seen a little bit of that, not here. I mean, I don't know, but I know it's happening across. Alex Winter, of all people, is
I know, man. I
from
know,
Billy Best
man.
Excellent Adventure, The Idiot Box,
Yep.
Lost Boys.
Yep. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was my favorite take on the whole grassroots activism, let's say, regarding Tesla, is that oh,
Really quick, just to specify
yeah,
for those
yeah,
who don't know, Alex Winter's on Blue Sky,
oh
and
yeah,
he's like
Everybody does.
organize some sort of like mass Tesla protest. I
Yeah,
don't think
Tesla
it has anything
Tesla
to do with stuff getting set on fire.
Tesla
Just be
takedown.
clear.
He has clearly stated that that is not an appropriate
Right,
response
right,
to
right, right.
things. However, other people might find that grassroots activism hilarious, and by other people, I mean me. There was something going around on the Instagram with Tesla offers $5,000 reward for the capture of people burning their um, charging stations,
Yeah.
and the comments were chef's kiss. The comments were like $5,000 to reward the people who set it on fire or to snitch. Let me be clear. And like, what were the maybe the stations were asking for it. What were they wearing? Just like it was like the best of shit posting. You know, anyway, just I remember it fondly. It warms the cockles of my heart, like a fire in a Cybertruck. Anyway, yeah,
So in the
I do
last
not espouse violence.
in the last few minutes we have left,
Yep, yep.
what you've been watching anything? I saw the Severance finale, which was
Have
someone
not
else already said, huh?
have not finished. Well, we watched the first episode of Severance, and now that it's in the can, we're
Yeah,
gonna probably watch it. So,
gotcha. I will
Silo
I
finished
will
season two of
I will say
Silo.
this without spoilers. Look for the what I'm considering a Raising Arizona homage. You'll have to tell me if you see it. And then just with anything where it's like sci-fi thriller, and especially because the premise on its face is like dividing your personality into two places and the implications, it leaves a lot of room for fever dream-esque sequences.
Jacob's Laddering, as they call it in the biz.
So there was plenty of that in this finale, and I hated the ending in the way that like that means it was probably good. There's movies like that where I'm like, I hate this ending. I hate that this is what you did to us. Um, One I've talked about a lot is Glorious, which is J.K. Simmons and Ryan Kwanten. I'm probably mispronouncing that name. He was on True Blood. J.K. Simmons, everybody should know.
Not
He's
my
the
tempo. Not my
what?
tempo. Not my tempo. From Drumline. That's not Drumline. It's not Drumline.
No, no, I know.
I know. I just like to say when people are like, J.K. Simmons from Drumline.
Yeah. There's a way they twist the knife towards the end of that movie that I still hate, but I know that that's what makes it a good movie.
But was it not necessarily that, but was it there's bad endings and then there's like endings you don't like.
There,
Like,
right. No, there's choices that characters make on in one thing, and then the other it was information that was purposefully kept from the audience until the end. I
yeah,
won't say which is which. I don't want to spoil anything for anybody.
right.
Um, it was in both cases things were done very cleverly and well. And
Yeah.
in the case of the TV show, we'll just see what the ramifications are when you come back next season, which they
Yeah.
are in season 3. But
Well, that's the thing is like Murder by Death is still one of my favorite movies. At the end of Murder by Death, where all of the different detectives come in and get critiqued for the bullshit that they pull. Like you introduce characters in the last 10 pages that no one ever knew about, that kind of stuff. And I've taken that along with me ever since I saw that when I was a kid.
yeah,
And I see it's like the Battlestar Galactica thing, it's like or the Lost thing where it's like, you know, years and seasons of them like, oh, they're not dead. It's not, no, it's the, and then suddenly it's like, doo doo doo. Oh, sorry, spoiler alert for Lost. Doo 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 doo. And then
yeah,
there's like the Sopranos ending where that was an artistic risk, and I get it. And
yeah,
it's like you could say it's like, well, the series he's dead. The series ended. We don't know what happens because the series ended for us. But at least that's an artistic risk as
yeah.
opposed to a cop out, I feel.
Oh gosh. I didn't even get to talk about Daredevil, which have you been
Oh,
watching that?
no, again, I think that's another one that we get so much stuff. Severance, we have backed up. We, like I said, we just finished Silo season 2.
Yeah, no, I thought of Daredevil specifically because Michael Gandolfini's on there, and he's still way younger than his dad was when his dad started on The Sopranos. I kind of feel like we should do a Sopranos episode,
Yeah, we could.
'cause I have so much.
I've been thinking about. I've been thinking about. Well, I just saw Steve Scripa on something, and it's making me think about The Sopranos.
Yeah,
Such
let
a good show. It's a good show.
yeah. So let's do this because we're about to run out of time. Let's
Okay.
say goodbye. Let's vow that our next episode will be
Bye
Sopranos based.
bye.
Sopranos based show.
Yeah, sure. We'll do The Sopranos show.
We'll come up with something fun for that.
Pepper. One of the things that my son brought back from the Cal Fresh was peppers. He's like, "Can we do peppers and eggs?" And I'm like, "We can do peppers and eggs in this economy. We do peppers."
Well, all hail Mr. Beast, and I will
Uh,
talk to you soon.
what if someone posted on the Blue Sky? Wouldn't it be funny if the Antichrist named himself Mr. Beast? Anyway, all hail Mr. Beast. All right, love you, man.
Love you too.
Bye bye. Bye bye.
Shaky Town was created by Brody Hubbard and Gene George. You can find us on various social media platforms under those names. You can also find the show on YouTube at Shaky Town and on Blue Sky at Shaky Town. We also still have accounts on Facebook, X, and Instagram at Shaky Town Radio, or just go to shakytownradio.com.